How's it going, guys? My name is Luis, and the Namco Museum is now available on the Nintendo Switch, proving once again that people are really freaking tired of waiting for the Virtual Console. Regardless, let's see if this collection of classic Namco games is worth the $30 price tag. There's been a ton of iterations of the Namco Museum already, and the Switch version honestly doesn't add too much to the formula. To begin with, for $30 you get 11 games, which puts each game at about roughly $3 a title, and they're sort of mixed in terms of how great they are. You get some really well-known classics, some pretty fun but not so well-known games, and games that felt like they were added just to make the total package number seem larger, though 11 games really doesn't seem that large. You get the original Pac-Man here, the classic iteration, and it's really the only iteration of the game unless you count Pac-Man Versus, though that really is its own type of game in itself. The original Pac-Man is still fun, of course, whether you play it for long periods of time or in short bursts. It's still the classic you most likely spent your entire allowance playing at the arcade, if you're at least over the years of 20 years old. Pac-Man Versus is really the standout title in this collection. It's a remaster of the GameCube game, complete with the commentary made by Charles Martinet as Mario, which is absolutely amazing. I'm just so happy that Namco got the commentary into this collection, because usually you wouldn't think they would be able to do that, but they were, and whatever the case, I'm just happy it happened.
Pac-Man Versus! Ready?
This game has you playing as the ghost in Pac-Man, trying to catch the Pac-Man as you earn points for each capture, eventually hitting the score target. It's multiplayer focused, though you can play alone with computers as well. The really cool feature is that you can play multiplayer, but not just on a single console, but with multiple consoles, and more importantly, with just one copy of the game. Switch owners without Namco Museum can download the free Download Play application from the eShop, and use it to connect to the host with the copy of Namco Museum. This game's a lot of fun, and it's an interesting twist on Pac-Man that essentially flips the roles of the players, turning them into ghosts.
1,000 points later! That's the end of the game!
We also get a pair of Galaga games, both the original Galaga and Galaga 88, the more visually impressive Galaga game with fancier graphics and much larger enemies. Both have you control a ship in space, taking down aliens that attack you in formations, dodge all the enemy blasts, basically the suicide rushes, and survive. DigDug is another famous classic in this collection. Search through the underground caverns as you use your air pump to blow up monsters and creatures hiding in the soil. Rid the underground of all these monsters while avoiding being attacked as well. The Tower of Duraga is sort of like a maze solving game. While avoiding or attacking the monsters in the maze, you're on a set timer to try to find both a key and the door that the key unlocks, ultimately leading you to the next floor. I had personally not played this game before, but I actually found it pretty enjoyable, and it was somewhat challenging at times. Another fun surprise game for me was Sky Kid. I also hadn't played this before, but I found it really enjoyable. You play as a pilot that takes off from an airport and tries to take down enemy fighters. You also get a target that you want to hit specifically for that mission that you'll have to keep an eye out for throughout the map. At the very end, you must land your plane on a small platform in order to finish the level. I really appreciated the fact that landing the plane wasn't as difficult as something like Top Gun. Rolling Thunder 1 and 2 are both 2D side-scrollers that have you platforming away from enemy attacks, while still trying to fire back at them with your gun. I personally thought these two games were rather meh. I'm sure other people probably enjoyed them, but for me personally, I just thought they were alright. They're not terrible by any means, but I wouldn't have minded having something else in their place, or just have remixed versions of the already classic Namco games that were in this collection. The last two games in the package are Splatterhouse and Tank Force. Splatterhouse is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game that's themed after serial killer movies like Friday the 13th. Play as a man named Rick who's resurrected by a mass and is now trying to escape a mansion filled with evil monsters. Tank Force, on the other hand, is the sequel to Battle City, one of my personal favorite NES games of all time. Control a tank as you fight in destructible environments against other enemy tanks while also trying to defend your home base. Each game has extra bonus features as well. You can change the visuals of the frame for each game. These are nice touches that make the Switch feel like an arcade cabinet of some sort, with the arcade art around the main game. I actually made a video on an arcade stand for the Switch beforehand, so I tested it out with this collection, and it all seemed very fitting. You can alter the aspect ratio and the display of each game to your liking, so as far as the display settings go, it's pretty customizable. Though technically the Switch kickstand doesn't support vertical standing, Namco Museum does let you switch the orientation of your screen for a more authentic vertical experience feel, since most of these games were running in portrait mode when you were playing them back in arcade machines. Now, along with these display settings, you get a built-in online leaderboard for all the games. For anyone out there that really loves being competitive, you can now share your score with other people online and try to be competitive worldwide. There's also challenges for each of the games, well, a single challenge for each game. I sort of wish there was a collection of challenges for each one, but the single challenges for each game are still pretty fun. They just kind of feel bare minimum of sorts, like they could have really done better than this. One thing I really do want to give this collection praise for is its use of the HD Rumble in these classic games. Whether it's digging in DigDug or collecting a power pellet in Pacman, the HD Rumble feels great in these games. Every action you'd think would have a reaction of some sort has an HD Rumble connected to it, and it adds to the immersion of the gameplay. Speaking of controllers, just about every game you'd think would support a single Joy-Con supports single Joy-Con use, so you can easily have accessible couch co-op for games like Pac-Man Vs, even if you only have the bundled in Joy-Cons that came with your Switch. Overall, Namco Museum is fun, but it feels like a bare minimum package, something that really feels lacking or should have more, at least for the $30 price tag. Most of these games are straight ports with just fancy looking graphics for the frames, so I don't see why we can't at least get remixed versions of some of the more popular games included in this package, or just additional games like Mappy or Pole Position. I personally wouldn't recommend picking up Namco Museum for 30 bucks, it sort of borders on a cash grab for me. Once it goes on sale for maybe like $20, I'd say go for it. This collection is by no means bad, but just rather lacking for that price tag in my opinion. Unless you're super eager to play some classic arcade games on your Switch that aren't Neo Geo ones, just wait for a price drop on this one. And that's my review of Namco Museum for the Nintendo Switch. If you enjoyed this type of content, then consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if I missed a question you may have had about the game, feel free to ask in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to answer your question. As always, thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.